Okay, this week we go to chapter 8, that is aggregate planning. So for this chapter, there is no theory that will be asked in your test. So the only focus is on the calculation part. So before we go to the calculation part, you need to understand what is aggregate plan first. Okay, aggregate planning is concerned with determining of quantity and the timing of production for the intermediate future, usually 3 to 12 months. So aggregate plan here is basically a task that needs to be performed by the operations manager, where the operations manager need to plan the quantity of production, okay, how many units to produce, and also the timing of production here means every month, okay, every month how many units of production to be made, and the plan here normally take up to 12 months, from 3 to 12 months. Okay, so this is a summary of aggregate plan. What needs to be planned by an operation manager, which we call as the aggregate plan. Aggregate here means a total plan. So there are a lot of things to be planned. So what are the things to plan here? First is output to be produced. How many units of output to be produced in 1 month? That will last for about 6 months normally. This output to be produced, we call it as standard output. Next thing to be planned is the workers required to produce the output. So every month we need how many workers to produce that quantity. And the third thing to be planned here is what are the strategies to be used in order to produce the output to fulfill the customer's demand. So for the theory part here, you need to understand these strategies first.
There are two strategies commonly used to prepare aggregate plan. First is constant workforce strategy, and the second one is vary workforce. So these two are the main strategies that we are going to use for our syllabus. So let's look at the meaning of each of these main strategy in the next slides.
The constant workforce strategy first. The word constant here means fixed. Workforce means workers. So constant workforce strategy is where the operations manager is using the same number of workers every month in order to produce the output. So operations manager bila mana menggunakan constant workforce strategy ni, operations manager akan menggunakan bilangan pekerja yang sama banyak setiap bulan untuk membuat pengeluaran of output in order to fulfill customers' demand. Okay, for constant workforce strategy, there are a lot more sub-strategies. So what I give you here from A until E, these are the sub-strategies. So please focus on the words written in black. Okay, the first strategy here is constant workforce. So constant workforce changing inventory level. So you need to understand what is inventory. So inventory here means stock. Okay, the second one is constant workforce strategy, that is using the same number of workers every month. Varying production rates through overtime. So you need to understand what is overtime. So overtime is where the workers work extra time in order to produce the output because of there is high demand from customers. So overtime is needed for the workers to be performed to produce more. The third sub-strategy is called as constant workforce, varying production rates through subcontract. So subcontracting here means in order to produce the output, the company give a contract to another company to produce on behalf of this company. Okay, let's say company A wants to produce 10,000 units of the product in January, but company A is not capable. Not capable, maybe in a form of or in a way of not enough workers to produce that much, 10,000 units. So what the company can do is to choose this sub-strategy, that is by using subcontracting. That is giving a contract to another company to produce the extra production. So bagi kontrak kepada company lain untuk membuat pengeluaran bagi pihak company A tadi. Hmm? So that is subcontract. Okay, the next sub-strategy under constant workforce is constant workforce, varying inventory and stock out. So you have understood inventory just now. Now the new thing to be understood here is stock out. So stock out here means out of stock, kehabisan stock. So the company can use this stock out as well. Okay, stock out here means let's say the customer wants to buy our product for 10,000 units in January. But the company let's say can only produce 5,000. So customer ni tak dapat dia punya order dia lagi 5,000. So if the company choose stock out as their sub strategy, then what will happen is the customers will not get their order of 5,000. So maksudnya customer tu balik empty-handed. And the last sub-strategy here is the combination of all the sub-strategies. Sometimes this is referring to the questionnaire, exam question. Sometimes the question wants to confuse you by asking you to use a combination of inventory over time, subcontract, and stock out strategy. But it is very important for you to understand what is inventory over time, subcontract, and also stock out. Okay, I have provided you. Okay, I have provided you with the definition of the sub-strategies. I have explained just now the meaning of inventory, overtime, subcontract, and stock out. So this is just an additional reference for you. Okay, the next main strategy of aggregate plan is vary workforce. By the word vary here, vary means keep changing. So if the operations manager choose to use vary workforce strategy, what the operations manager will do is keep changing the number of workers every month to produce the output. Okay, for example, in January, the company needs to produce 10,000 units, let's say. So maybe 10 workers are used in January to produce that much 10,000 units. But in February, there is less demand from the customers, so the production is only 5,000. That is the demand from customers. So by using vary workforce strategy, the operations manager need to lay off some workers. Lay off means buang pekerja, and only maintain maybe 5 workers to produce 5,000 units. So manager ni kena sentiasa buat keputusan how many workers are required to be used every month to produce the output as demanded by customers. So another name for vary workforce strategy is hiring and hire and lay off strategy, and another one is meet exact demand strategy. Okay, uh, I have prepared some guide for you in order to prepare an aggregate plan. So for this week, I'm going to show you only how to prepare an aggregate plan for constant workforce. Okay, constant workforce saja. And next week, I'm going to show you how to prepare an aggregate plan using vary workforce. So let's see what needs to be done first in order to prepare an aggregate plan using constant workforce. Okay. The first thing needs to be done here is to calculate or to find the standard output for all workers per month. Okay, so what you need here is some information. So this information will be given in the question. So that is called as additional information. And remember, standard output here means how many units can be produced by all workers in one particular month. So the information needed here is labor hour per unit, or sometimes it is called as standard output, working hours per day, working days per month, and also number of workers. Once you have calculated the standard output for all workers for one particular month, then you can proceed preparing the aggregate plan using constant workforce strategy as this one. So this is actually the template that I normally use to prepare an aggregate plan using this strategy, constant workforce. Okay, I'll show you in detail how to come up with this aggregate plan. Okay, as for vary workforce, To prepare the aggregate plan using this very workforce strategy, also you have to find the standard output. Okay, but there is a bit difference between standard output for vary workforce and also constant workforce. So for vary workforce strategy, the standard output is only to be calculated for one worker. Okay, tadi constant workforce, kita calculate standard output for all workers. But for this one, we calculate only for one worker. Okay, so we need three types of information. The first one is standard output, working hours per day, and also working days per month. So all this information will be given in the question that is called as additional information. And once we have calculated the standard output, then you can go to preparing this aggregate plan using vary workforce strategy. So the template is quite simple compared to the constant workforce strategy. So I'll show you this vary workforce the following week. Okay, so that's all that you need to know for aggregate plan. Okay, so aggregate plan here requires quite a long calculation.